食料と武器を譲って。
Welcome back to the show. I'm General Jack Gaia, and this is Skull to Rome.
I've got a 45 and a shovel. I doubt anyone will miss you.
Today, we're reviewing Super Beast Machine God Dancouga. And stop me if you've heard this one before, it's a show about teens with attitude, piloting giant robot animals that combine into an even bigger robot.
The mammoth comprises the bulk of the combiner. It's not even close to Mighty Morphin, and you know it. Any combiner that has shoes and a helmet as part of its big combination isn't much of a combiner. They don't even have the combiner show up until halfway through the series.
As far as I know, good old Masami Abarai is responsible for the mech design. So if you don't like it, you can blame him for that. The man has his weird proclivities, but he has a great track record of making the robot look good.
You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
That's about the only thing that Dancouga has going for it. This show was somehow popular enough to get multiple OVAs in a new series called Dancouga Nova, which is thankfully 26 episodes shorter.
I've seen it.
Of course you have.
Dancouga follows Shinobu Fujiwara and his comrades, Sara, Misato, and Ryo, as they fight back against the evil Zarbos Empire, which just so happened to wipe out Earth's major military installations in just the first few episodes. The secret organization known as the Cyber Beast Force is all but stands in the Zarbos Empire's way.
This so-called organization is run by General Ross Igor, the team's overbearing, testosterone-fueled Russian father, with the help of the only smart person in the show, Professor Kotaro Hizuki, the man who invented super technology and the brains behind Dancouga. They begin to rebuild Earth's military by recruiting unstable, hot-blooded teenagers.
Norio Wakamoto stars in his breakout villain role as Ben Shapiro. Getting himself captured during the initial invasion, he plans to tell the Zarbos Empire where we keep a third of Earth's weapons stockpiled.
Excuse me?
Welcome back to Who Wants to Be a Skullionaire? We're here with Skullomania, our first and only contestant to get this far.
I do like him, so I'm not even going to try to correct you on this one.
Let's play Who Wants to Be a Skullionaire for 100 skulls in the iconic super robot show Dancouga.
I wouldn't say iconic. Dancouga looks like Starscream if he hit the gym.
Where was a third of Earth's weapons stockpiled? A. The set of Jersey Shore. B. Shinzo Abe's house. C. The Appalachian Mountains. Or D. Underneath the Nazca lines.
I'm gonna say C. The Appalachian Mountains.
Is that your final answer?
What do I win, Regis?
Oh, so sorry. The correct answer was Underneath the Nazca lines.
What?
To gain Emperor Moog's trust, Ben Shapiro, hypothetically for the sake of the argument, tells them its location. How does a lieutenant in the Air Force know where a third of Earth's weapons are stockpiled? Wikipedia, probably. Why is it stored there, and which world powers have access to it? Don't know. One stray missile is enough to just blow the whole thing up, apparently.
With Earth's military routed, the Zarbos Empire began to set up shop, making their headquarters in one of Earth's greatest cities, Detroit.
Take him to Detroit. No! No, not Detroit!
I guess an evil alien occupation seems like your average day to everyone living there.
Having recruited a team of barely functional children into their ranks, the CBF begins running raids on the now established Zarbos presence.
This show is a masterclass in what not to do if you're running an evil alien empire. The only reason Zarbos get as far as they do is because of Shapiro. They didn't even have information warfare until he joined them. The rest of Emperor Moog's generals take cues from the Principality of Zeon, constantly fighting amongst each other. Death Gaia, Gilda Rome, and Helmut are all glory-seeking jackasses that barely get anything done, with Luna being there for eye candy, I guess.
I'm pretty sure she was supposed to be Moog's liaison, but he usually just winds up Skype calling his generals to give them orders.
Exactly, so what is the point?
To be a real doll in case one of his generals gets bored? It's Masami Abarai adjacent. I wouldn't put it past them.
Anyway, Shapiro further amplifies the infighting by highlighting everyone else's failure, going so far as to belittle them in front of Emperor Moog. Why they didn't just rip him apart behind closed doors confounds me.
You gotta respect his level of commitment to being a conniving asshole. If Sarah ever saw anything in him is beyond me.
Don't get me started on that dynamic. Even after Shapiro tries to kill her multiple times, she keeps holding out hope for him.
Speaking of breakout roles, child actor has to lead a group of child soldiers against the Zarbos Empire. Some kid in a later episode that suspiciously looks like Dan's character loots a nuclear warhead from a now-defunct military base. They plan to ram it into the nearest Zarbos-related thing that they can find, knowing full well that the resulting blast will decimate everything in a 100-mile radius.
Even though that's not how a nuclear warhead works.
A boy has the right to dream. There are endless possibilities stretched out before him.
At least Dan Aykroyd trying to ram a nuke into something isn't out of the norm for him.
What if I told you that Arnold Schwarzenegger is also in this show?
You're lying.
Zarbos utilizes Skynet's tactics and makes their own version of the T-800. Because Dancouga came out a year after the first Terminator movie, clearly someone wanted to reference it. But hear me out. Instead of going through all the trouble of infiltrating the Resistance, they could just glass the planet from orbit like reasonable evil aliens.
The only reasonable member of the Zarbos Empire was a random mook who got left behind. Granted, he was injured, and while he was recovering from his injuries, a little girl took care of him. Even though we barely see humanoid members of Zarbos because they're usually just staff members serving under the generals. The Zarbos infantry is mostly comprised of CIS battle droids.
It's my programming.
But this one humanoid was a foot soldier, who gets killed off in the same episode and is never spoken of again.
What few parties we still see resist the Zarbos Empire, I mean, outside of the good people of Detroit, are weird Colorado mountain men who are somehow giving the Zarbos Empire a run for their money. So Zarbos, in their infinite wisdom, make a biological weapon made from a virus on Earth that specifically affects the Colorado mountain men. It's petty, vindictive, and worthy of my respect.
We do eventually find out why Igor is such an overbearing commander. It's because his son left him to go start his own Cyber Beast Force project, with Black Knights and hookers. Igor really resented him for that, so he continuously takes it out on Shinobu and the gang whenever they screw up.
Time is not on our side. No, it isn't. This show bounces around for a little while longer. Earth is invaded, and it is sort of fine for the most part. Cities are either occupied or used as experiments for Zarbos weapons. Others are just left alone, and some are destroyed.
I don't recommend Dancouga. The Combiner is dumb. The evil alien empire is dumb. The song Laura keeps singing is dumb. Sarah is dumb and the budget keeps dying.
The fights and action scenes in it are pretty rad. All in all, I wasn't bored watching it. I think we can both agree that Burning Rage is a banger.
If you really want to watch Dancouga, then you better be ready to commit. This 38-episode anime can't be bothered to finish itself, so the full ending is locked away to a separate 90-minute OVA. And then there's another OVA that's 80 minutes long that serves as a sequel, and then another OVA comprised of 4 episodes that's the true series finale.
Don't forget, we still have to watch Dancouga Nova.
One day we will be free of Dancouga. But today is not that day. How this series survived into the late 2000s is a mystery to me.
You could make that argument for a lot of things we've watched. Good night, everybody.